I'd rather you go do whatever you want to do and be happy with it than be in the band and be miserable. So he ended up leaving the band, and then we just brought in a whole new rhythm section. We brought in Chris Duguay on bass, Skip Marimo on drums, and then we recently brought, since January, Todd Werman's been playing second guitar with us. So I want to say that is pretty much everything. Oh, and I did do a very short-lived acoustic project with Ashley Chevalier called Barren River. That was recorded back in 2011. It's got 6 songs on it, but it was never released. So that's kind of the EP that's kind of fallen through the cracks. I've recorded a ton of material over the years. Some stuff I would love to see reprinted. Some stuff that's, it's there. Yeah. But that was one of the ones that probably the one that I recorded and I've always wanted to see it released, and it never got put out. She was working on a solo album at the time and just had a different direction where she wanted to go musically, and I don't think the stuff that we recorded together and worked on together truly represented what she was trying to put across as her image and how she was trying to market herself. It was much darker, a little more raw. Her solo stuff, it's very much her. It really is who she is. Whereas Barren River is one aspect of who she is. And I think if that had come out prior to her solo record, I think people would have got a different vibe from her that is not necessarily, it wouldn't have represented her as well as the way her solo stuff does. So to this day, I mean, I still have the demo in my car. It's never come out. So maybe one day it'll come out. I don't know. But that's pretty much everything.
All right. Why are you still playing? Not as a joke, but
dun, dun, dun.
What is driving you to keep going?
I need it. It's really the simplest thing I could say of why I do this is, and it's not even the shows, it's not any of that stuff, any kind of whatever minute attention or fame or any of that crap. Obviously, we don't make money at this, which is why we all have jobs. And these days with the music business the way it is, it's like even if you're signed, you're not making money. If anything, you're owing money. Right. With technology being the way it is, you can really just market yourself through the internet and set up Bandcamp and whatever, and do it yourself. I mean, it really is the ultimate age for DIY. Yeah. I mean, you're taking the punk rock attitude and modern day technology and just do this shit yourself. I mean, you don't need somebody scraping money from your art to be able to do what you want to do. And that way you don't compromise. There is no compromise. You just see it through fruition. You can go to CD places, which is what we do. We write our own music, go to a producer that we trust, record at his place. We take that master, we come up with the artwork, or we have a friend of ours who, like Chris Lang, who did the artwork for the last couple Lord releases, who's done phenomenal work and has been part of our aesthetic lately, who I'd love to work with again. We take that artwork and then we go to a CD plant and say, hey, we want 100 copies of this, or we want 200 copies of this, and they print it for us and we sell it. That's 100% profit. And you get your money back from what you spent printing it, and then on top of that, you can get your shirts, your stickers, the whole thing. You don't need. Usually, what you would go to a label for is distribution. Yeah. And with there being an absence of record stores lately, like Best Buy has a rack left. There are no Sam Goodies. There are no Music Lands. I mean, there's independent places that still do vinyl and CDs, and but the mass market music stores, what was that place in the Tower Records, shit like that, it doesn't exist, unfortunately. And to me, that was the be-all, end-all of being a kid. Like, I loved going into the mall. That was my excuse for going in the mall. Yeah. Fuck every other store in the mall. It was the music instrument place and the CD store. And I would just, that excitement of holding that in your hands, and and then walking to the register and checking it out in your car or whatever, or your headphones when I wasn't driving yet, It was just, that excitement's gone. I mean, you got Amazon. I don't even go into stores anymore. It's like everything comes off Amazon. You don't have to leave your fucking house. But that accessibility now to be able to do all these things on your own and not rely on other people is all the more reason to do it. But the root of why I do music is because I need it. It's, to me, ever since I was a kid, it's been my solace. It's been my sanctuary. From, you know, being like a misfit kid in school, and you know, not like woe is me, I don't want you to feel sorry for me. Everybody goes through the same shit, but it's just like, to you it's like the end of the world, you know. It's like, it's your, you know, that's your existence. So, you know, if you're not popular in school or whatever, and you hated going, you got picked on or whatever, like you came home and you put your headphones on and the world went away. I think something just popped up.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, I can edit that later. Okay, so as far as speaking of music or instrument stores, like what is your main guitar and the other instruments that you're playing through?
Well, I'd say the main guitar, or my SGs, I played two. Let me actually show you here.
Well, let's start off with this one. Right?
Okay, well, this is something I've recently taken on as you're talking about expanding my learning. This is part of it. The Ibanez 8-string. I want to say it's RG8. I wanted to expand what Lord could do. We were always down tuning. I have one guitar in drop B and another one in A sharp standard. And so we were always messing with low tunings. It's kind of what, you know, a lot of extreme bands do. We're not innovators in that respect or anything. But I've always been a fan of like trying to expand, you know, of course, what we're doing. And I loved Meshuggah. I still love Meshuggah, and you know, bands like Animals as leaders, and I got a lot of guys who are already flirting with 7 strings. I just love the sound of a down-tuned instrument, but at the same time, you won't have the intonation issues and shit that you would, you know, trying to get a 6-string to go that low. So I wanted to have like that tone that Meshuggah gets, but at the same time, not play what Meshuggah does. I think a lot of people, they get a 7-string or an 8-string as like they automatically default riffing is I'm going to play on Meshuggah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they are the innovators of that sound, and anybody who plays that kind of stuff is going to sound like they're ripping off Meshuggah. So we tried to not do that. Yeah. And the glorious part about it, because the way I have this tuned is the the bottom 6 strings are pretty much E standard, you know, straight down. So you can pull off, you know, your clear tones and notes and everything, and still be able to pull that off and have it be crystal clear like anybody playing an E standard would. The next string up is B, which is no different than, you know, my drop B on the other one, same. But then the lower one, or, you know, your top string is going to be a drop E. So I'm able to get, you know, a lot of that, you know, backup. It's more to add heft to the chords. I'm not really playing, not using it as much, you know, but you can't, because you can't really do chords on it. You kind of do it as single strings or single notes. So you're doing stuff like that, where like in Alive and Golgotha, the title track, we're doing a lot of, I use it more to add the heft to it. So you can do a lot like, you know, just to kind of add weight. So when, you know, you're playing that through distortion and have a bassist playing along to that, it's just balls.
So with the other guitars?
So yeah, that's the 8-string there. And then have the Gibson SGs. I got a red one and a brown one. So I've had this one in particular since 2007. You can see it's definitely seen some wear and tear. There's the old armrest here. You can tell where it's a little faded. I've had the knobs changed out, strings cleaned and everything. And this guy I trust at Guitar Center usually does great work. You can actually see on the headstock there's a little bit of damage. You probably won't be able to pick it up on here, but right here where I put it through a bass drum, playing with, I want to say it was the CD release party for Old Scratch's Sunless Citadel. Went a little nuts and put the headstock through the drum and didn't realize how much damage I had done. And actually took a chunk out of the corner here and then had taken this tuning knob out. It busted, so I had to get all of these replaced. James Hahn from Old Scratch actually provided me with the tuning pegs, and we got them installed. But this has been probably my main guitar for a few bands. This was my main guitar during the time I spent in Cayman. is pretty much the one that I did a lot. Well, I still play all the A sharp standard stuff for Lord whenever we get, so that was pretty much the original tuning that I ever used for Lord. So everything is pretty much on that. The next one is the Brown SG, which has kind of become the main guitar in Lord just because of the tuning. We tend to write a lot of stuff in drop B. Yeah. So it's basically the same setup as the red one. It's got the moon inlays just like the red one does. Like I said, this one's in drop B, so a lot of the stuff that's on Chief and a lot of the stuff that was on Alive and Golgotha and the newer material has been written this is the one I play live probably the most. The pickups on this one tend to be a little brighter than the red one, where the red one tends to be a lot more bassy. So, but this one cuts through a lot more, which actually works really well for in complement to Todd's setup, because Todd plays PRS and he plays through a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. I'm sorry, Todd, I'm not really sure, but
the triple.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a good complement within the two, but definitely when his tone, it matches. When this one cuts through, it matches his tone really well. Man. So it's definitely, you know, definitely been on the last few Lord releases. It was probably my main guitar during SBO. Man. It went from being the side guitar to my main guitar pretty quick.
I see you have an acoustic over there.
Yep. Go off camera here for a bit. This is the. Let's see here. Oops, excuse me. This is my acoustic Johnson. I got this guitar in Miami while we were on vacation. I got it for $100. And I have pretty much written almost every song, whether it was Absent Sky, Cayman, Lord, whatever, on this guitar for like the last 10 years. There's nothing special about it. I've not even replaced the strings since I bought it. Or cleaned it. Actually, yeah, there's a Marilyn Monroe sticker on it, which I think was pretty awesome. But yeah, the strings need to be cleaned. And I even got a couple tuning pegs that are missing that are busted. But yeah, I'm actually in need of a new acoustic. So before Lord goes into the studio again in August, I'm gonna have to pick one up because I can't even tune this thing. But like a, you know,
you need like a pair of pliers.
Yeah, everything that I've pretty much written over the last 10 years has been on this guitar. So I mean, there's nothing special about it. Just, you know, your basic acoustic. And like I said, I'm gonna need a new one soon. So that's that. And then this one,
it's a bass.
It is a bass. Squire 5-string. I actually picked this up when I was going to be joining Aphasia on to play with them. They were looking for a bassist. Lord at the time wasn't really doing a whole lot, so I've been friends with Noah, the vocalist, for a long time, and always admired him as an artist, as a vocalist and a writer. So to me, it was just to be able to get a chance to work with him. And you worked with him in the past and sang with us. Was you know, just to have the opportunity to jam with him. So I had a 4-string Jaguar that I actually ended up selling that I was playing for a while, and then I just wanted something that had a really good punchy sound to it. And me and my girlfriend actually went to Guitar Center. She picked it out, and I kind of jammed it for a little while. And it's a really fluid fingerboard. You don't really feel the frets when you're underneath it, but it's got a good punchy, heavy sound to it. So I figured it'd be kind of cool to complement that. I wasn't in the band long, but I kept the bass, and I figure I can use it for Absent Sky. As far as amplification, I use a PV Viper. I think this is a 15 or 20 watt practice amp. It's got a bunch of cool settings. It's got a rotator cab. It's got octave. It's got a 6505 option, which is great because that's what my main rig actually is. So I use that. My usual string setup on the two SGs is GHS 11s. I use boomers. They are super reliable. I really haven't used anything else. I mean, these things take a freaking beating. Unfortunately, GHS does not make 8-string strings yet, or you know, for guitars. But as far as I know, so Guitar Center had these, which is Ernie Ball 8-string slinkies, which is what I use for the Ibanez. And I've not yet broken a string, thank God. But because I haven't really played as often as I do the other ones. But that's what I use for that. the Dimebag Wah. Got that one recently, and yeah, oh, it's a Del Tab delay and the Boss Super Chorus. And then, of course, I can show
So
you.
yeah, as far as the main live rig goes, I played through a Marshall 1960 412, which is obviously has seen some nice road wear there. Got the L coming off. I got a hole in the. I mean, the speakers are fine and everything works great.
And this is a 1960.
Yeah, 1960.
Lead, and then
Great cab. And as far as the head goes, I played through a PV 6505 plus. 100 watts or 120, I think.
Bam.
But I've had that since 2007, and that thing has definitely been on tour with me, has seen some miles, and I've only had to replace tubes on it once. So
And
very
by the
reliable.
way, I congratulate you to the mighty world of pedals.
Yes. I actually plan on getting more. Yeah, believe it or not.
Where were you back in Canada?
I know, yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know. I always had a very punk approach to the way I play, but pedals is just, I don't know. It definitely expands. You told me this a million times, but it definitely expands what, your sounds and all that, which is great.
So I was right.
Yeah, you were right.
Okay.
Of course, now it's, it's going to be on YouTube and everything,
Well,
but I said he was right, so it's, my life is over.
Okay, for somebody who's been in the scene for a long time, who's done multiple projects, basically expanded from day one, for anybody who's new and who's just starting to look at these projects and starting to get into these situations, what is, obviously in as condensed form as you can possibly get it, what advice do you have for them?
Do it for the right reasons. Don't do it because you think you're going to be a rock star. Don't do it because you think you're going to be famous. Don't do it because you think you're going to get money off of it. I mean, this is the type of, especially if you're playing heavy music, it's the type of thing that you have to do it because you really love and want to do it. I mean, to me, it was always emotional catharsis to get the stuff out of you. So, I mean, it's the perfect way, it's a perfect vehicle to get those things out of you. Another thing is, don't just listen to one form of music. Expand your horizons, and that forces you to play differently and inspires you to play differently, and that's good. Play with different people. That also changes your dynamic of how you play, because you approach music in a different way with the people that you're playing around. That's one thing. Every time I've ever been in a position where I've played with other bands, you learn from that. Every band has been a learning experience, and you take that into, I mean, I definitely don't play the same way I did back in 2001. Whether somebody perceives that as better or not is up to them, because music is like anything. It's in the eye of the beholder. But I think if you expand your horizons and what you play, your music will only expand with that. And I think that's anybody who picks up a guitar or anything, I think you should progress. You should be pushing things further, trying something new, offer something that isn't already out there. Yeah. Even if that's just for your sake. I mean, to me, a lot of the time when I write music, I'm inspired. I read a lot. I'm that dork who will go into a bookstore and read music magazines. And a lot of times I read something it's so inspiring. If you get a really good music writer, they'll describe things in a way where like, oh my God, I have to listen to this. That's just so amazing. And sometimes you listen to it and they built it up to a point where it doesn't meet that in any way. Yeah. But that in and of itself will inspire me to write something, like to write what this person has described and put it in my own direction. So it's like you can expand within that. Little things can inspire you, whether it's the written word or a movie or just life in general. So I think just be attentive, and be willing to do stuff outside of the box, the Pandora's box.
And on that note, just like to thank everybody for joining me for Wilson Sessions, and just remember, if you're not playing, you're not living. So, jam out.
Later.